Last night we had the big reveals for One Piece Day over in Japan, and as expected, the final leader of OP13 is indeed Imu. And we have some exciting cards in this deck. This has a very unique playstyle, and one that I think can be incredibly exciting for the game. Firstly, check out the texturing on these arts. These are all drawn by the author of Jujutsu Kaisen, and both the art and the texturing on these cards goes crazy. So moving straight into the Imu leader, Imu is a 4-life, 5k black leader with the question mark type. And this leader says you may not play events with cost of 2 or greater in your deck according to the rules. Also, at the beginning of the game, you can play up to 1 Holy Land Marijois type stage from your deck. So, interesting ruling thing on this. This happens before you draw, before you mulligan. So as you sit down to play against your opponent, you're going to search your deck for 1 Holy Land Marijois type stage and just play it. And then he also has Activate Main. Once per turn, you can trash one of your Celestial Dragons type characters from play, or 1 card from your hand to draw 1. It's like a Sacker effect with minor upside in that you can ditch your characters to potentially go positive, which is pretty cool. And then the stage that you're going to want to play, which ties in completely to this leader, is the Empty Throne. 7 Don Holy Land Marijois type stage. Your turn, if your trash is 19 cards or greater, give your leader plus 1000 power. And I love the flavor on this, right? Because it's like the 20 kings, but Imu is one of them. And you've trashed the other 19, so Imu's stronger on their own, which is, oh man, the amount of care that they show for the source material in this game is beautiful. It's beautiful. And then Activate Main, you can rest this stage and 3 of your Don, play up to 1 5 Elder Stars black character from your hand with a cost equal to or less than the number of Don cards that you control. So this is going to slowly let you cheat more and more Don across the game. If you're on the even curve, for example, which I think, as we look at the cards, you'll see is probably Imu's better curve. On 4, you could cheat a 4 Don character for 3 Don. On 6, you could cheat a 6 Don character for 3 Don. On 8, you could, in theory, play an 8 Don character, that there aren't any, for 3 Don. And then on 10, you can cheat a 10 Don character for 3 Don. And holy do we have a 10 Don character. And this is the big payoff that we're working towards, this big 10, 12, 5 Elder Stars card. And look at this artwork, man, this goes so hard. Maybe not quite as hard as the Jujutsu Kaisen author's drawings for the other 5 characters that we're about to look at in a minute, but this still looks really nice. And this has Activate Main. If your leader is Imu, you can rest 1 Don, trash 1 from hand, trash all of your characters, which will include itself. And then from your trash, you can play 5 Elder Stars type characters with 5000 power with different names. This is fairly similar to something like Vinsmoke Judge, except instead of getting 4, you get 5, and these also have better effects than some of the worst Vinsmoke cards. As you should expect, really, for a 10-12, but do remember that with the stage, you can cheat this out for just 3 Don. Also note that you don't have to use this effect immediately. You could, for example, just play this out and leave it there as a 10-12 that you've played for 3 Don. I mean, it's not a bad play, right? If you've got other cards in your hand that you would like to play on that turn, then you can quite happily play this 5 Elder Stars and then get a turn of swinging with it before you summon all your guys. Or if you've already summoned your guys and most of them are still hanging around, or maybe you could just play this and just have it there as a vanilla 10-12. And then you're always threatening bringing back the gang. So really cool, exciting, like Exodia style game plan. And the guys that you can play out all have pretty interesting effects. In terms of the 5 Elder Stars, first up we've got Jarosia Saturn. It's a 5 Elder Stars and Celestial Dragon type character, 4, 5, 1k. And all of these Celestial Dragons that we're going to cover on the next few slides, they all have counter, which I think is a little underrated, because usually your sort of best cards all have bricks. But for Imu, they all have counter except for the 5 Elder Stars and the stage, but because you can play this at the start of the game, you only need to run 1 copy in your deck. Well, there might be a reason that you might want to run more than 1 copy, but we'll get to that when it comes. Back to Jarosia Saturn, if you have 7 or more cards in your trash, this character cannot be removed by your opponent's effects. And every single one of these Elder Stars, other than the 10-12, also has this exact same effect. So you're going to need to get 7 in your trash pretty fast. But once you do, your opponent just can't interact with your board. Very similar to the 5-cost Kuzan in Blackbeard, which is a little scary because I know how frustrating that card can be. It is worth noting, though, you can rest these with effects like Usahachi or the 5-cost Tashigi. And Jarosia Saturn says, on play, look at the top 5 of your deck, reveal 1 5 Elder Stars type character, and add it to your hand, then bottom the rest. This is your larger body searcher, similar to something like a Zoro in the Purple Straw Hat decks. Obviously, doesn't have 6,000 power, but does have counter and is uninteractable, which is really quite good. Moving on to the next one, we have St. Tottenham Warcury. 451k, also has this anti-removal effect, but also gains blocker when you have 7 cards in your trash. And on KO, you get to draw a card. It's a blocker that draws a card when it goes down. And one thing that many people said when they first saw these cards is that they think this deck might struggle with resources, and that is fair. However, this guy just drawing you a card and getting you out of a swing is obviously going to be very powerful. Recently, I've been playing with the 4-cost Marco blocker, but on KO draws 2. And yes, this is not as good as that, this only draws 1. But those blockers that replace themselves in your hand and get you out of a swing are very valuable, and I do think this card is going to be a very important part of your strategy as you're working your way up towards the big Exodia combo. And even once you pull off the Exodia combo, it's nice that you're going to get a blocker that gets you an effect when it goes. Next up, we've got St. Marcus Mars, 6/5, 1k, 5 Elder Stars and Celestial Dragons. And he has the same effect as the other ones. If you have 7 or more in trash, he cannot leave play by your opponent's effects. And this one also gains blocker, the same as the Warcury did. But the Jarosia Saturn is not a blocker. These are your 2 blockers in the deck. And on play, you can trash 1 card to pop a 5. That is base cost 5, so anything that increases its cost, like the 5-cost Karasu, who cares? And this could be great on curve for just popping whatever your opponent's played on 5 for your 6 Don turn. And remember, this only costs 3 Don with the effect of your stage. So whilst this might look like a 6/5, it's more realistically a 3/5. And I think one of the things that Imu is going to struggle with is aggression. So having this tool that can remove one of your opponent's things, I think is going to be very important for your curve. This will likely be one of the cards you're looking for the most early on. Next up, we've got St. Shepherd Jupiter. He's a 7/5, 2k with the 5 Elder Stars and Celestial Dragons types. And again, if you have 7 cards in trash, you can't remove him. During your turn, if your trash is 10 or more now, your 5 Elder Stars type characters have a base power of 7,000. So if this was in your opponent's turn as well, this would be giga busted. But just giving you that extra aggression on your turn is going to make the turn after you summon all of these guys with your 10 cost incredibly powerful. Because you're going to have a minimum 5 7k swings from your characters. You've got your leader as well. And you've got 10 Don to work with. So potentially you're going to be putting on a crazy amount of aggression after you pull off your Exodia combo. Also really nice that this is a searchable 2k. I don't think you're going to be too excited to play this out, even with the effect of the stage. However, when you summon this off of the 10 cost, oof, that's going to be pretty spicy. And last up, we have St. Ethan Baron v Nusho. He's a 6/5, 1k with the 5 Elder Stars and Celestial Dragons types. And again, he has the same clause where if your trash is 7 card or more, he can't leave play by your opponent's effects. But this one also gains Rush. So this deck has blockers, you have buffers, you have Rush, you've got searches, you've got removal. You've kind of got everything in each of these Celestial Dragons, which is kind of nuts. And then on attack, if your trash is 10 cards or more, you give something -2 for the turn. Rush and Power Down is going to be another useful tool into, for example, an aggro deck. Because they might have a tapped Rush character. Well, you can likely take it out and then develop this character that you can either immediately just trash with your leader effect, or you can force your opponent to attack into it, so it acts as a pseudo blocker. So, and this is how your big combo is going to work. For 3 Don, you're going to rest your stage and play out your 10-12. Then from there, you're going to use his effect to rest 1 more Don, trash 1 card from your hand, and then trash him and everything else that you've got on the board to summon all of these dudes. Just a couple of early notes on the combo. So, firstly, if you've got excess Gorosei on your board before you are going to play your 10 cost, we can swing with them, and then you can use your leader effect to pop 1 of them to draw a card, effectively going +1 in hand. And then for 4 Don and 2 cards out of hand, because you're going to play the 10-12 with the stage effect, and then he forces you to trash a card, so you've got -2 in hand from that. But you get to play, you get a 5k blocker that draws a card on KO. You get a 5k blocker that also has the option to pop a 5-cost character. Admittedly, will cost you 1 extra card, but getting that removal is going to be pretty nice to have as an option. You're going to get the guy that buffs your Elder Stars to 7k in your turn. You get the 7k Rush unit in your turn that gives -2,000 power. And you get a top 5 search for Elder Stars. So the Searcher can offset the Remover, if you want to look at it like that. So for 4 Don and 2 cards, you're getting 2 5k blockers, you're getting the removal on a 5, You're getting a vanilla 5k essentially after the search. You get the 7k rush guy, you get the buffer. So many cards, all with different effects. And I think pulling off this combo is going to be easier than you might think with the amount of trash effects that we do have access to in this deck. And don't forget, you've still got 6 Don to use between, for example, your leader's swing, your rush character's swing, or events. This combo seems like it's going to be incredibly powerful, and you're going to have to be quite aggressive into the Imu Leader to try and kill them before they can get this combo off, really. This is 2 blockers, a search, a removal, rush. It's a lot of value for 4 Don, right? What about the supporting package for this deck? Well, we've got a 1 cost event, 5 Elder Stars and Celestial Dragons types, top 3 search, grab a Celestial Dragon, put it in your hand, trash the rest. That puts immediately 3 cards in your trash. And with your leader effect, if you've got 2 of these, you're going to be at that 7 threshold for the anti-removal and blocker and rush type effects in no time. Trigger also activates main. And do note that this is the translation that we've been given in Discord by the translators. But looking at this card's text, it looks to me like it says that it can't grab itself. I'm seeing in quotation marks just here the name of the card. So I'm assuming that means that it can't take itself. But if it can take itself, I mean, that's even better, right? And we also have the Saint Jarosia Searcher that was leaked quite a while ago in the Premium Bandai. She's a top 3 search for Celestial Dragons, and then you trash the rest. Then you trash 1 card from your hand. And at the time, we were all a little confused why you have to trash 1 after doing your search, so you don't go hand neutral. But now that makes sense, because with the Imu Leader's effect, you can then trash Jarosia to draw another card. And again, like that, you'll get 4 cards in your trash with either of these searches, plus the leader effect, for just 1 Don. Next up, we've got the Never Existed, and this is a 1 cost event with the 5 Elder Stars and Celestial Dragons types. On main, you can pay 2 total to KO a 7 cost stage if your leader is Imu. Very, very funny in Mirror. Not much application outside of Mirror, but the fact that you can pop the Empty Throne for just 2 Don is going to be annoying, because normally you'd want to only put 1 Empty Throne in your Imu deck, because you start with it on the field from your leader's effect. But if you're considering Mirror, and if Mirror is a prevalent matchup, you may have to include, who knows, maybe even a playset at the stage, which is going to be quite rough, because it's not a card that you want to draw. And then this is also a 4k counter event if your leader is Imu, for your leader or one of your characters. Unconditional Rad Beam, what's more to be said? This will be a 4 of in the Imu deck, almost certainly, because we're going to need counter in that deck anyway, because we are fairly low on resources. And this is about the best option we have for a counter event, because you cannot include cost 2 or greater events in your deck. So even if you had some wise ideas about some other counter events from the past, most of them won't work, sadly. Moving on, a couple of little blockers that you could play in your deck. Vivi, if you have 10 in trash, which you're kind of aiming to get towards anyway, it's a 1/1/1 chump blocker. Nothing too crazy. And then the Cobra is a 2/1/1k blocker that mills 1 on play, which obviously lends towards getting you further towards your trash number that you need. Be that 7, 10, or 19 for your various effects. A couple other cards you could consider. Rebecca is always a consideration in these black decks. She does -1 from your trash, and she doesn't play anything out, really. But it's still a blocker that gets you a card and goes hand neutral, which is not too bad. And also you've got Sabo. It's quite funny seeing like Vivi, Cobra, and Sabo being the cards that might work well with Imu. I don't think they'd be on the same team. Although I suppose Cobra kind of is. But anyway, yeah, this Sabo didn't really have a home when it was first revealed in PRBO2. It looks like to be okay in the red-black Sabo deck, but this Imu deck is probably a much better home for it, because you're going to get to that 15 cards in trash by the end of the game, when you might need this to be a blocker. And of course, it is also just a 2k. Last couple of cards that you might want to consider. The other Sabo does fill your trash. I've seen a lot of people peddling things like random brand new searches and cards like that. I don't think that's going to be the way. Like, we don't need to get that high on cards in trash super early, but Sabo could be worth playing. Especially maybe on an 8 Don turn, you can use your stage to play out something for 3, and then drop this Sabo. The protection's obviously not going to matter, because all of the Celestial Dragons guys have that inbuilt protection. But the draw 2, trash 2, and being a blocker is not bad. And also Bartolomeo is a 2 against a blocker. We're a black deck that's not really built around removal, and most of the black 2Ks are removal based. So I think this and the Sabo are probably the best 2Ks that I'm seeing at the minute, other than, of course, the In-type one. And lastly, Barrier. It's a 4k counter event once you have 15 in the trash. And we are aiming to get that 15 in the trash. Trig is also pretty nice. Draw 2, trash 1. So you'll go +2 in trash and get a bit of a cycle. Not too shabby. So here is a list that's been put together by York's channel. I'll have his video in a card on your screen right now. He's already done some gameplay with this leader, which is insane. It was revealed like a couple hours back. But if you want to check out some early gameplay with Imu, make sure you check out York's channel. And I think you can see from this list, the deck mostly builds itself. You're going to be playing 4 of each of the Jarosia because you do need to see all these cards in your trash for your combo. I think 4 the combo guy makes sense, but you could probably cut this guy to 3. I don't think you're going to need a ton of these. You're probably only pulling off 1, maybe 2 combos a game. So that could free up a little bit of room. 4 the Jarosia Searcher and 4 of the Jarosia Searcher is going to be a natural inclusion, as well as 4 the counter event. 1 stage, and then these flex slots are sort of all you've got really left to go with. He's playing the Bartolomeo and the Sabo that I highlighted earlier. I think these are probably the best 2Ks you have access to right now. And then he has gone with the VV over the Cobra, and just a lone copy of the Barrier. So if you want to see some gameplay with this list, make sure you check out York's channel. So I've seen a lot of shit talking on Imu already online, and I do think the deck is going to have its issues. But this kind of sort of Exodia combo is a new thing for the One Piece card game. The closest thing we've seen to that is like the Reiju deck with the Judge. But this seems a lot more interesting. These effects are just a lot better than the Vinsmokes, other than potentially a Chiji. Though I suppose this Rush guy is kind of a bit like a mini Chiji, right? Which is quite funny. I think some of your worst matchups are going to be some of the really aggressive decks. Red Rayleigh in particular plays out so many guys and can swing so many 5s super early. And whilst all these, we do have a lot of blockers, none of them are bigger than 5, so they're not going to be sticking around. So you can get your block, but then they're gone. And I think that will make your aggro matchups a little tricky, because even by the time that we get to our combo, we're going to be pretty low on cards, pretty low on life, and our opponent might even still have a lot of their board still around. Green Zoro is another one. They're able to rest our characters, so whilst we're immune to removal by decks like Lucci or blue decks with their Raging Tigers, we're not immune to Zoro's removal, because Zoro's removal is all battle. And if they're able to control our board whilst applying pressure to life, it might put us in the position where even once we get towards our Exodia combo, we're not in a position to live, which will be quite tricky potentially. But regardless of weak or strong, this leader looks like a lot of fun. Pulling off these Giga combos where you fill the full board is going to be a lot of fun to pull off. And I'm really excited to give Imu a go. If you'd like to see some Imu gameplay on the channel soon, let me know. Maybe we'll pull out the IRL camera again, get some Imu gameplay going. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a lovely rest of your day.